You know that incredibly frustrating catch-22, like where you know you need to move your body to stay healthy, but your joints are just screaming at the mere thought of it.
Oh, yeah. It happens to so many of us.
Right. Especially with our knees. You think about maybe pounding the pavement for a run to get your heart rate up, or I don't know, joining a step class.
And it instantly feels like an open invitation for a massive flare-up.
Exactly. But then you do the alternative, right? You sit still, you rest on the couch, and then over the next few days, your knees just end up feeling, well, stiffer, like tighter and weaker.
It's a vicious cycle, really. People get trapped between this very real fear of joint pain and the dangers of a sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah.
And they just freeze. They stop moving altogether.
And that freeze response is exactly what we are going to dismantle today.
Yeah.
I was reading this fantastic piece over at the blog reluctantlowcarblife.com, and the author makes just this really compelling case for a way out of the trap.
It's a great read.
It really is. So our mission for this deep dive is to explore why cycling, like whether you're hopping on a stationary bike in your living room or an e-bike or just a traditional road bike, is basically the ultimate shortcut to protecting and restoring human knees.
Which ties perfectly into their guiding philosophy, right?
Yes, the trifecta of health: fitness, fullness, and freshness. Today, we are, laser focused on that fitness pillar, but we aren't just going to give you a generic riding a bike is good for you lecture.
No, we're getting into the actual mechanics.
Right. We're diving into the physics of pedaling, how you can build an internal knee brace, and the biology of what is essentially a car wash happening inside your joints.
I love that analogy. And, the contrast between biking and other popular forms of cardio is just striking when you look at the physics.
Okay, so let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Because if running is essentially like taking a hammer to your joints, biking is basically suspending them in a localized anti-gravity field, right?
That visual is spot on. Because to really appreciate biking as a therapeutic tool, we have to look at how our bodies handle gravity. Running is the perfect example.
Right, because of the impact.
Exactly. Every single time your foot leaves the ground and lands again, you're creating a collision. And those forces don't just stop at the soles of your feet.
Oh, they travel up, right.
Yeah, they reverberate up through the bones of your ankles, crash into your shins, travel through your knees, and all the way into your lower back.
Yikes.
The source material brings up a statistic that really puts this into perspective. Running on solid pavement subjects your knee joints to an impact force equivalent to 3 to 5 times your total body weight.
Wait, really? 3 to 5 times?
Every single footfall, yes.
So if someone weighs, say, 200 pounds, their knees are absorbing up to 1,000 pounds of force every time their sneaker hits the concrete?
Exactly.
When you multiply that by, thousands of steps in a single run, that is just brutal.
It's brutal, and it's often destructive over time. If a person is carrying excess weight, or if they have thinning cartilage from age or old injuries, that constant pounding creates continuous micro-trauma inside the joint.
So it just accelerates the wear and tear?
Right, and triggers a whole cascade of inflammation. But biking completely rewrites that physical equation. When you sit on a bicycle, your mass is distributed across 3 distinct contact points.
Handlebars, the pedals, and the saddle, right?
Mostly the saddle.
Yeah.
Because the seat is bearing the vast majority of your mass, your knees are suddenly liberated from gravity's punishment.
Oh, wow. So they're just totally unburdened.
Totally. Your legs are free to move and generate power without having to simultaneously act as the structural support columns for your whole body.
And your feet never smack into the ground. They're just following this fluid, 360-degree rotational path. All those jarring vertical forces are just stripped away.
Yeah, which means you capture all the cardiovascular benefits like the elevated heart rate and lung capacity improvements without taxing the cartilage.
Okay, so that anti-gravity environment sounds incredibly relieving, but I do have a major question here.
Sure.
If my knees aren't bearing any real weight on the bike, how am I supposed to build the actual muscle strength needed to protect them? Don't our bones and joints require weight-bearing impact to build strength?
That is the natural counter-argument, right?
Yeah.
And it brings us to the biomechanics of the pedal stroke itself. A knee joint is basically a biological hinge.
Right.
But it relies on a really complex web of surrounding muscles for its stability. When you pedal, you're systematically targeting the exact muscular architecture required to keep that hinge secure.
So how does that work in practice?
Well, think of the circular pedal stroke like a clock face. When your foot pushes down moving from the 12 o'clock position to the 6 o'clock position, you heavily engage the quadriceps on the front of your thigh.
And those quads are massive muscles.
They are, and in this context, they act as active shock absorbers. As they strengthen, they take the pressure load directly off the kneecap itself.
Ah, okay. So building up the quads is step one in creating this internal knee brace the author talks about?
Exactly. Then you hit the bottom of the stroke as you actively pull the pedal back up, sweeping from 6 o'clock back up to 12 o'clock. You engage the hamstrings on the back of your thigh.
Oh, so you're getting a push and a pull.
Right. It creates a beautifully balanced tension across the entire joint. You aren't just strengthening the front, you're balancing the front and the back.
That makes sense.
And simultaneously, your calves are working to stabilize your ankle, and your glutes are firing to control the rotation of your hips.
Which is huge
Yeah.
because that glute activation stops the knee from caving inward, right? Like that inward cave is what blows out so many knees when people do heavy squats with bad form.
Yes. And the bike practically prevents poor form by design,
Because your foot is attached to the pedal.
because the circular motion is completely fixed by the physical length of the bike's crank arms. Your knee is locked into a controlled, predictable trajectory.
So it physically can't bend past a certain angle.
Right, and it cannot twist unexpectedly. Over time, cycling through that smooth rotation gently stretches out tight tissues and restores lost range of motion.
Completely avoiding the erratic twisting that causes most sports injuries. I mean, I am fully sold on the structural benefits on the outside of the knee.
But the inside is where it gets really fascinating.
Yes, the chemical environment on the inside of the joint. This completely blew my mind. I've always assumed that if my cartilage is inflamed and throbbing, the best thing I can do is rest it on the couch with an ice pack.
A lot of people think that,
Right, like why are we forcing a joint to work if it's already aggravated?
because resting an aching joint often starves it. This comes down to a really interesting quirk of human biology.
What is?
Well, unlike your muscle tissue, which is incredibly vascular, meaning it's pumped full of veins and arteries,
Yeah.
your cartilage has absolutely zero direct blood supply.
Zero. Wow, so it can't just pull what it needs from the bloodstream.
It cannot.
Yeah.
If you tear a muscle, blood rushes in delivering oxygen and nutrients, and it heals. Cartilage, which is that slick padding cushioning the ends of your bones, doesn't have that luxury.
How does it survive?
It relies entirely on a specialized, slippery lubricant called synovial fluid.
Okay, the biological car wash.
Yes, exactly. Imagine a dense kitchen sponge. If that sponge is just sitting at the bottom of a sink full of soapy water, it might absorb a tiny bit on the surface, but the center stays dry.
Right, you have to squeeze it to get the water in.
Exactly. The only way to get the water deep into the core is to physically squeeze it and then let it expand. Cartilage works the exact same way.
Yo, so when you pedal a bike, the gentle alternating pressure of your knee bending and straightening acts as a mechanical pump.
You're literally wringing out the cartilage sponge. You squeeze old, stagnant waste products and inflammatory byproducts out of the cartilage.
And then?
As the pressure releases on the upstroke, it acts like a vacuum. It draws fresh, nutrient-rich synovial fluid deep into the tissue.
So it's actively delivering oxygen and amino acids right to the grinding surfaces.
Yes. It soothes irritated tissues, keeps the padding supple, and maintains the joint's health.
That completely flips the script on recovery. I mean, it means sitting perfectly still on the couch out of fear of pain might be the worst thing you can do.
Because without that pumping motion, the cartilage is basically suffocating. It needs movement to eat.
Wow. And when you connect this internal healing to the macro picture of overall body weight, the benefits just compound, don't they?
Exponentially. The source points out a sobering physiological math equation. Every single pound of excess body weight adds roughly 4 pounds of mechanical pressure onto your knee joints.
4 pounds. So if someone puts on just 10 extra pounds over the holidays,
Their knees are experiencing 40 pounds of extra pressure with every single step.
if you take 10,000 steps a day, that is hundreds of thousands of pounds of added force grinding away at that avascular cartilage.
Which just accelerates the deterioration. But here is the beauty of cycling. It's an exceptionally efficient calorie-burning engine that you can sustain for long periods, specifically because it is low impact.
Right, because you aren't fighting gravity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A moderate, steady ride can burn anywhere from 300 to 600 calories an hour. Because the saddle is bearing the load, you can burn those calories without pain.
That initiates this incredible positive feedback loop, right? You move more, you burn calories, you lose weight.
Which removes the physical pressure multiplier off your knees, which then allows you to move even more frequently with even less pain.
It feeds right into the fitness and fullness pillars of the trifecta, using exercise to manage weight while fueling your body well.
Exactly.
It's a brilliant upward spiral. But I know there is a massive caveat we need to address from the deep dive. The author makes it very clear that all these biological benefits are completely nullified if your physical bike fit is wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
If you just hop on a stationary bike and start pedaling, you might actually be doing more damage. It's like getting into a rental car and not adjusting the driver's seat, you know?
Yeah, if you're driving with your knees jammed up against the steering wheel, your back and hips are going to be in agony no matter how nice the car is.
Exactly. So, what is the biggest culprit when it comes to bike fit?
Improper bike fit is unequivocally the single most common reason people experience new or worsening knee pain while cycling. And the absolute biggest culprit is saddle height.
Okay, what actually happens mechanically if the seat is set too low?
Well, when your seat is too low, your leg remains overly bent even at the absolute bottom of the pedal stroke. This acute angle dramatically increases the compression forces right behind the kneecap.
Behind the kneecap.
Yeah, doctors call it the patellofemoral joint. Basically, the space where the back of your kneecap glides against your thigh bone. When the seat is low, you are essentially grinding those two bones together with every revolution.
Oh, ouch. That sounds terrible.
It leads to a very sharp stabbing pain in the front of the knee.
Okay, but I see the opposite problem a lot at the gym, too. People riding with the seat jacked way up, basically stretching their tiptoes just to graze the pedals.
Right. Setting the saddle too high forces your leg to overreach. Your knee joint locks out fully, or even hypoextends backward at the bottom of the stroke.
Which is bad for the tendons.
Immensely bad.
Oh.
It puts dangerous strain on the hamstrings and the delicate tendons behind the knee. Plus, because you can't quite reach the pedals naturally, your hips are forced to rock aggressively from side to side just to complete each rotation.
Which probably transfers a ton of strain into your lower back.
Exactly.
Okay, so grinding the kneecap if it's too low, tearing the hamstrings if it's too high. How does a listener find the exact sweet spot at home?
There is a very reliable method. Sit squarely on the saddle and place your naked heel, or the heel of your flat shoe, on the pedal.
Okay.
Drop that pedal to its absolute lowest point, the 6 o'clock position. In this position, with your heel on the pedal, your leg should be completely, perfectly straight, no bend at all. Then when you slide your foot backward into the actual riding position, placing the ball of your foot over the center of the pedal, that straight leg will naturally gain a subtle 10 to 15 degree bend in the knee.
Oh, that makes so much sense. That slight bend is your mechanical sweet spot.
Exactly.
That is incredibly practical. What about the handlebars? Does reaching too far forward mess with the knee alignment?
It affects your center of gravity. Raising your handlebars creates a more upright riding posture. This is crucial for beginners because it shifts your body weight backward, planting it firmly onto the saddle.
So it takes the load off your arms and shoulders?
It drastically reduces it, yes.
Yeah.
You also want to check the fore and aft position of the saddle.
Meaning how far forward or backward the seat slides?
Right. You can test this by bringing your pedals parallel to the floor at the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock positions. The kneecap of your forward leg should drop a straight, imaginary plumb line directly through the center of the pedal spindle.
Okay, so we have the physical geometry dialed in perfectly, but I have a question about the actual effort you put into the pedals.
Sure. If the overarching goal here is to build up this muscular internal knee brace, shouldn't I, crank up the resistance?
Yeah.
Is it better to power up steep hills in a heavy gear
Yeah.
to build that quad muscle faster? You should absolutely avoid doing that, especially early on.
Really?
Yeah, the cycling community has a term for that. They call it mashing. Mashing is when you shift into a heavy, difficult gear and try to force the pedals down with raw power.
Right, like trying to do a heavy squat.
Exactly. Doing that at a low speed places an immense amount of torque and mechanical shear stress straight through the fragile connective tissues of your knee.
So we do not want to treat the bike like a heavy squat rack.
Never. You want to embrace the opposite technique, which is called spinning.
Spinning?
You purposely shift into an easier, lighter gear and focus on a smooth, rapid, continuous pedal turnover. The physiological target cadence is between 70 and 90 revolutions per minute.
Wow, 70 to 90. That is pretty fast.
It is, but that speed is the secret. By spinning at 80 RPMs in a light gear, you take the mechanical workload off of your joint surfaces and transfer it directly to your cardiovascular system.
So your heart and lungs do the heavy lifting.
Exactly. You protect the cartilage entirely while still getting an incredible calorie-burning workout. Spin, don't mash.
I really want to talk about execution now because the source outlines this 4-week starter plan. We have the biomechanics we know to spin at 70 to 90 RPM, but how do we actually start?
Slowly.
Well, looking at week 1, the suggestion is to ride 3 days a week for just 10 to 15 minutes. To a lot of our listeners who are used to pushing themselves, 10 minutes hardly feels like a real workout. Why not jump straight to 30 or 40 minutes if the bike is so safe?
Because of the physiological lag time between different types of tissues in your body, patience in week 1 is non-negotiable.
Because of the muscles.
Actually, your muscles are highly vascularized, they get plenty of blood, so they adapt and recover very quickly. You might feel like your quads have the energy to pedal for an hour on day 2.
But the knees don't.
Right. Your connective tissues, your tendons and ligaments, are avascular, much like cartilage. They are like thick, stubborn rubber bands. They adapt to new repetitive motions much, much slower than muscles do.
So your muscles are ready to go, but your patellar tendon is screaming, I'm not ready for this volume.
Exactly. Week 1 isn't about cardio. It's about conditioning those slow-adapting tissues to a brand new repetitive stress. Just 10 to 15 minutes, very low resistance, aiming for that smooth 75-plus RPM cadence to wake up the synovial fluid pump.
That makes perfect sense. So in week 2, we build consistency, bumping it up slightly to 15 to 20 minutes a session, 3 to 4 days a week. Resistance stays low, but the focus shifts to monitoring joint tolerance.
You're actively listening to your body. If there's no swelling, you proceed to week 3, which introduces micro-adaptations.
Meaning you increase the duration to 20 to 25 minutes and add those spin intervals.
Right. You pedal at your easy normal pace for 3 minutes, and then for 1 minute, without changing the resistance, you simply pedal a little faster.
Just a little burst of speed.
Those brief bursts increase the blood flow to the surrounding muscles and train your neuromuscular system to pedal efficiently.
And then by week 4, you arrive at the target, which is 30 minutes of continuous, smooth riding at a comfortable conversational pace. If you follow that ramp up, you bypass the tendon inflammation that ruins most new exercise routines.
It's all about patience.
I also want to touch on terrain, because the environment you choose plays a huge role here.
The environment dictates your control over the resistance. The safest place to start is indoors on a stationary bike, specifically an upright or a recumbent bike.
Why indoors?
Well, indoors you face zero traffic, no sudden stops, and the resistance is 100% predictable.
And recumbent bikes are those ones where you are sitting back in a bucket seat with your legs out in front of you, right?
Yes, and they are phenomenally gentle because that reclined seat supports your entire upper body. It completely removes any lingering pressure on the lower spine.
But what if someone wants to ride outside? For the mental health benefits, tapping into that freshness pillar of getting outside and breathing fresh air.
If you do that, you need to stick to flat, paved, multi-use paths. Avoid hills at all costs in the first month. And this is where e-bikes are completely changing the landscape of physical rehab.
Oh, e-bikes are brilliant for this. You still have to pedal, but the motor eliminates the danger zones.
They are a literal safety net for your joints.
Yeah,
You pedal naturally, keeping your RPMs high, but the second you encounter a steep hill or a strong headwind, the electric motor kicks in and takes the load.
So it prevents you from ever having to resort to that dangerous mashing we warned about.
Exactly.
It totally takes the fear out of venturing away from home. Speaking of fear, as people embark on this 4-week plan, how do they distinguish between the normal discomfort of starting a new routine and actual damage?
It is vital to separate good fatigue from bad pain.
Okay, what's the good fatigue?
Good fatigue is a warm, generalized, aching muscle burn in the belly of your quadriceps or your calves. That is a healthy, desired biological signal that your supporting muscles are working, breaking down, and adapting to become stronger.
And the bad pain, the red flags.
Bad pain is sharp. It is pinpointed, stinging, or throbbing pain, located directly inside the kneecap, immediately behind the joint, or running sharply along the ligament lines on the sides of the knee.
So if you feel anything sharp,
Stop immediately. Do not push through it. Sharp joint pain almost universally means your saddle height has slipped or is measured incorrectly, or you are mashing in far too heavy a gear.
stop, assess, and adjust. There is no valor in pushing through a sharp joint pain.
None at all.
Well, this entire breakdown has been incredibly enlightening. If we summarize the core takeaways for anyone listening who wants to reclaim their mobility, You need to swap the hammer of high-impact cardio for the smooth, anti-gravity mechanics of pedaling. You can build up an internal knee brace with your quads and hamstrings. You can physically wring out your cartilage sponge to flush it with nutrient-rich synovial fluid. And as long as you dial in that saddle height, you can spin your way to joint health.
Looking at the sheer biological elegance of this process leaves me with a really profound final thought.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
We established earlier that human cartilage has zero blood supply, meaning it absolutely requires physical, mechanical movement to draw in nutrients and survive.
Right.
That implies our joints literally evolved requiring motion to stay alive.
Wow.
What if the aches, the stiffness, and the pains of aging aren't always an inescapable sign that our bodies are breaking down? What if, instead, that stiffness is an evolutionary alarm clock ringing, trying to remind us that we were fundamentally designed to be in constant motion?
An evolutionary alarm clock that completely changes how I view morning joint stiffness. Well, if you enjoyed today's deep dive, make sure to subscribe to our podcast and check out our YouTube channel so you never miss our future analyses. And for the full article and more amazing insights into health and wellness, you definitely want to check out the blog at reluctantlowcarblife.com. Remember their guiding philosophy as you go about your week. Aim for the health trifecta: fitness, fullness, and freshness.
Keep your body moving to feed those joints, keep your plate full of real, nourishing food, and stay fresh by getting outside.
Next time you feel that frustrating catch-22 where moving hurts but sitting makes it worse, just remember you do not have to choose between your cardio and your cartilage. Take the weight off, find your anti-gravity machine, and start spinning.